Hello all, hola mi gente, ¿cómo está que no? It's me, Miss Ashling, and you are most welcome here. It's like you're racing to come. It's like you're racing to come to today's book talk. Yeah, today's book talk. So I've been reading a lot of Hunter S. Thompson because it's like we had the DNC recently in the US and I was feeling in like a political mood, but I wanted to like go back in time a little bit, and I thought that this would be a good author to think about and read from because Hunter S. Thompson was a political writer. So I read 4 books. Well, I read 3 and I'm stuck on 4, and we'll get to 4 in a minute. So this one, I'll start with the fiction one first because it's easier to explain. The Long Lost Novel, because he started writing it in his 20s but then like finished it when he was older. It was published in it's the one page. I can't right. No, it's not. That was a lot. There we go. It was published in 1998. So like he was writing in the 60s and 70s and then on in the 80s and 90s and stuff until he passed. Like, and that was controversial, so we won't talk about that. You can if you want to know more about him, you can Google him yourself, because he does have kind of like, it's like intense. His life was intense, as I think a lot of writers are. Creativity like comes from something else. So it was an interesting take on what he thought journalism was like for him when he covered stories in Puerto Rico. This takes place mostly in Puerto Rico. And it's a perspective that I never heard before about Puerto Rico, so it was interesting. I don't judge the books I read on like morals. I just take what the author has to say and I decide what I think about the characters and maybe the message, and if it's a valuable lesson, not necessarily a goal in life, because I could not live like this man did. And there is also a lot of exaggeration in his writing because he was a reporter. So this book, this is called Generation of Swine. He does not have nice things to say about politicians. He says there's a lot of shame and degradation in the 80s. I was born in 1979. So when I was reading this book, it's a series of collections of his writings. And when I was reading this, I remembered like when certain things were happening, like when they were on the news. But I was a kid, so my little kid perspective was like, grown-ups do weird stuff. I have to think about what I want to do when I'm a grown-up. This was published as a collection in 1988. And he has a lot of exaggeration. He talks a lot about drugs and alcohol and his addictions. And I feel like, I don't know if it was real or if he was exaggerating to kind of like create a character. I think it was a little bit of both. So I take his writing with a humor in my head and a grain of salt. it's meant to get you to think, not necessarily to agree with. This other book, Songs of the Dunes, it was more notes on the death of the American dream. Super gloomy, right? And like, I'm that positive chick. I'm that optimistic chick. Because I've been around the block, I know. I know that people can survive a lot more than they think they can. So it does help to look at things from a point of satire and a sense of humor, because the fact of the matter is the problems of today seem to be the same problems of yesterday. So are we doomed? I don't think so. But he does point out the types of behaviors in which, if we continue to act out, if we continue to misbehave, we could be in trouble, you know? Like, that's what you want to do. You want to stay out of trouble. Just stay out of trouble. So the last book, I'm going to hold off finishing it. Let me show you why. It's long. It's a hardcover, so it's definitely more weight to carry around. It's not the kind of book that I'm going to be dragging on the train, because it just weighs more. It just weighs more. This is the book jacket, and because it is a hardcover, it has the book jacket. I don't want to damage the book jacket, because this is not these are not from my collection, they're from Phineas's collection, so I don't want to like get them caught in the rain and stuff like that. It's just trying to be respectful, you know? So yeah, it's called Fear and Loathing in America. So what I'm gonna do, I got this far, and I have all these notes, like my opinions and stuff, because this book, it starts out in 1970. No, I lied. I totally lied. It starts out in 1968. And it goes from 1968 to 1976. And I don't really know that much about those years, aside from the general ideas of what happened. Because when I was a kid in elementary school in the 1980s, we were taught history and not necessarily, and like current events. You had to know what was in the newspaper, but they didn't want to talk too much about what happened in the 60s and 70s, because a lot of them were still recovering from everything that was around the Vietnam War. So like a lot of my elders didn't talk about that, and then the older people were still recovering from stuff from World War II. So like people didn't like to talk about more recent historical stuff. So I feel like it's my responsibility to educate myself on that. And from his perspective, it is kind of humorous and exaggerated. So if there's something that I want to look up, I can. And I do. But it's also like alarmingly close to like some of the problems that are happening now. So it's like eye-opening, you know? But because like I need to take a break, me personally, I'm like, there's nothing that I can do until it comes the election day. So I'm actually gonna put the rest of this book aside until November, and then it'll be like my warm-up to that season, because I'm making it a point not to engage in conversation or really like get caught up in a lot of the commentary, because it's the same thing over and over again, and I feel like it's propaganda from this side, that side, and I don't want to hear it anymore. Because I already know what I'm gonna do. I already know what I want to do, and I do not want to continue defending what I think seems to be most obvious. I don't want to go backwards in time. I always want to progress forward. I'm a peace-loving chick. Yeah, I want to sit around and read my books and talk about books. Yeah. So I think, speaking of books, because that's been an issue too, I think it's important to read the authors that we wouldn't normally read to get another perspective, right? So it's a balance. It's a balance. I'm now going to focus on some sci-fi stuff. I've also been really obsessed with UAPs and stuff like that since I was a kid. Because I grew up around that kind of pop culture, E.T. and all of Steven Spielberg stuff, and the alien coming out of your belly, and because I like that fiction world. Real life is hard, right? We need to be in real love, and keep all our like anger in writing, I guess. That's why I have so many journals. Oh my god. But anyway, so that's my ramble book talk for today.